Hour three. But we're actually gonna end it soon. I did not think we were gonna get to hour three. I thought maybe 2 hours at the most. But when you have really good, interesting guests that are offering just amazing insight, I have to keep listening to them, and I want you guys to, let them keep talking. I don't want to shut them up. You know, they're, we need to listen to each other more. So, and thank you, Kay, for joining me again. Hi. So the bad thing about having to restart these, it eliminates the donations from the previous hours. Um, so the first hour, we raised $40. Yay! I'm just gonna give a shout out to everyone. Phantasm, Employee Fighter, Aaron Palmer, Mark Gordon, and then in hour two, an additional 10. I see Brahamas is here, so thank you so much, Brahamas. So any that helps, because like I said, they represent all these people for free, so they wouldn't be able to do this work without our donations. So anything helps, I would really appreciate it. And okay, so you've been watching Kay. What have you been thinking? What do you want to say right now?
No, I mean, I think some really good points were made. I was talking to Michelle in the chat down there, really, just some awesome work that the Innocence Project is doing. So I'm glad we're able just to lend some help.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to. I didn't want to take too long because I didn't want to take up your time a lot. But do you have any thoughts on? Did you get to watch the episode with Frankie Carrillo's case, or no?
No, But I
Okay.
had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. Well, this one was just like, a case of just kind of quickly. It's just, and basically kind of just kind of screwed up, corrupt, DAs who like try to prod, witnesses to like they'll show them, six pictures of suspects, and then kind of be like, this one, like, and then the witness will be like, yeah, sure, and they end up just like agreeing with the one that they want to pin the crime on, and then that's how basically this guy Frankie Carrillo was, named as a suspect. He was also, huh?
I think I might have read a little bit. Was it the gang situation?
Yeah, the shooting, the drive-by, and it was dark.
Because he just wanted to get out of there. It was like he was being held by the cops. They're showing him all these pictures, so he was just like, yeah, it's that guy. Yeah, and the one guy was saying like it's wrong how we show people pages and pages. If you show people pages and pages of suspects, they're going to pick one that looks like the person. You know what I mean? Like you can't. Yeah, really interesting.
That's someone's life. You can't just do that. Just be like, oh, like you're picking out something from the menu. Like that's someone's freaking life. And then they actually had to go because it was, that night was dark, and then, Innocence Project started working on the case and everything, and then they're like, you know what? Kind of recreated. They went back and actually recreated, like they went back to the same spot, the same type of lighting, and they basically like took the judge over there and be like, see, you wouldn't even be able to tell who it was because it was so dark. And then that's kind of one of the things that helped set Frankie free. And also another guy. Well, later he pled the fifth, but he basically admitted that was him. But then he pled like in a statement, he said it was him. But then he wouldn't, at the trial, he just pled the fifth. So he didn't, like, he was helpful at the beginning and then not. But I mean, I think Frankie was I think it was like he was 17 when he first got arrested, and I think he I think it was like over 20 years or something. So he was like a grown man. His like girlfriend had a kid, and he was just like writing like, to his kid like these cards like, oh well, hopefully this will be the last Father's Day that, I have to be in here and stuff like that. And it's just like, I just feel so like, I just imagine your whole life, like people who are in their like 20s right now, like imagine like that's how long an innocent person was in jail. And I admire them so much because I don't know if I could last in jail. Like they're so much stronger than me. If I was in their position, I probably couldn't make it.
Yeah,
That's too much.
Especially when you think about um, the guys that were on death row, like Anthony Ray Hinton that wrote that Oprah Book Club book, The Sun Also Shines, which is he's in Just Mercy, but he's the guy that gets left in the when the main character gets free. He's a guy that's still in there. He eventually ends up getting out, but he was on death row for 28 years. His case was racially motivated though, and that was crazy. There was also another guy that I saw when I was just flipping through the Innocence Project, and that's one thing that people watching should know. You guys can go to the Innocence Project website, and unfortunately, they have tons of stories, right? Isn't it really sad to scroll through? I mean, it's sad, but then it's also really hopeful because, all of these people have been exonerated. But it had this guy, Timothy Bridges. His wasn't racially motivated. He's a white guy, but it was that faulty forensic science. It was that ridiculous hair analysis that is not accurate and is not real science that took him away for 25 years for rape and assault of like an 80-year-old woman that he didn't commit.
Wow. And the other, I forgot to say this too, the other cool thing is that a lot of these, exonerated people, a lot of them will end up working with the Innocence Project, like doing, just speaking tours and advocating for legislation. So, they do some good after. So that's another reason why I feel like it's important that we support the Innocence Project and support them. And one of the cases, it was about a guy who was wrongfully convicted of raping this woman. And then when she found out that, it wasn't him, she felt awful. Like, I thought I had put the right man in jail. Like, I thought I was keeping women safe. And, I took this guy's life away. And then it was really touching at the end, after he finally got released. They were actually kind of doing like a, what's it called? Like a discussion, like a panel discussion at a university together. Like, this guy that supposedly, she was supposedly, scared of for a long time because she thought he was her rapist. And then, but now she realized he's a really good man. And now they're like doing these, panel discussions together. And I was like, wow, it was just really touching. I was really happy for him. But again, I felt like just so bad. Like, you can't, just breaks your heart. It's their life.
Then she finds out that the actual rapist is still free. You know what I mean? Like, unless they were traced down some DNA. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
And that was another case of just mistaken identity, and like it was dark, and she thought and they actually, in that episode, they actually talked about, I forgot what it's called, but it's this thing where basically people can't identify people from another race well, as like white people can identify other white people better than other, like, and black people can identify other black people better and stuff. And they actually showed on the show, like they were asking all the black people they were interviewing, they're like, do these look the same to you? The two black suspects, like the real one, and then the wrongfully convicted one. And all the black people were like, no, like they could tell all the subtleties, all the differences in their face. But all the white people, even though they're like well-meaning people, reporters, other people that helped, they were like, oh, well, you can kind of see like they kind of look the same. I was like, wow, like it's real, and we should acknowledge that. Like, and we shouldn't just rely on that.
That's one of the things too. Erroneous eyewitness identification. So there are 5 things that the Innocence Project says that people who are wrongly convicted that kind of they highlight and rise to the top, and that's false and misleading forensic evidence, which we already talked about. That erroneous eyewitness identification, which happens to a lot of people. Inadequate legal defense. We didn't really get to get into that today, but we know how often that happens, right? We know that I was seeing this stat that most death penalty states don't require lawyers to meet the minimum training and experience guidelines by the American Bar Association. You can have a lawyer defending you on death row, and they don't even have to meet a minimum requirement of, like, that blew my mind and is crazy. False accusations or perjury by witnesses, which happened in the case you were just talking about with the gang member guy, right? And then false and coerced confessions, which happened in the little kid's case we talked about, that was for the 14-year-old kid, because they eventually said, well, he confessed without a lawyer or a parent present. And we know that happened in the exonerated 5 case, the Central Park 5 case, right? That wrong, coerced, that false and coerced confessions. So I just hope that moving forward, I know studying this stuff, it's just made me a lot more skeptical when I think that has to do with the courtroom, and it also makes me a lot more willing to serve on a jury, because these are things that you know and you see so often, especially in the case that you had to watch the Innocence Project in the second episodes. People are totally convinced by a lawyer, completely convinced by this fake forensic science that they think is real. And so you need to be on a jury, because you need to tell people, actually, bite mark evidence isn't reliable evidence. You need to be on a jury. Actually, if they got that confession without a lawyer present, we shouldn't really trust that confession, you know? Yeah.
So if we could just educate ourselves, we can, serve and, do our civic duty in a lot better way, and hopefully not put away innocent people. Because sometimes, like, you see these jury members are like, well, we believed it. They were convincing and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God. And I mean, I can't blame them. They kind of worked with what they had, but like, if, I think if we were all more educated, hopefully there would be that one person that would be a little bit more skeptical. And
wasn't the first case with the Innocence files? The guy knew him ever since he was little. They were little kids and grew up together, and he was on the jury. He said his thing was, well, the lawyer seemed really, he said the lawyer outclassed, quote unquote, the other lawyer, which I was like, wow.
I thought that was so crazy.
And then
it's like your friend. I feel like you would know your friend. Like, that's how powerful, I guess, maybe the lawyer was, or how influential that they like ended up believing the lawyer or their friend that like you think you would know.
Because I've been on a jury where a person had hired a lawyer and had a great lawyer by magic, and had a great lawyer that was, and they were against a district attorney. And the district attorney wasn't as polished, right? Because they have more cases, they are paid less, they are overworked. But I could just tell by the facts of the case. When we went back to deliberate as a jury, we were like, well, the lawyer did a better job. And I was like, no, you guys still have to look at the facts. It doesn't matter if that lawyer looked like a lawyer from TV and knew how to give like a rousing speech. Like, we're still looking at the facts. Look at the facts.
You're not judging. You're not giving out Academy Awards, or like, you have to look at the facts.
Yes, but people are influenced by stuff like that, unfortunately, right? Like, have you been on a jury before?
Almost, but I always either I couldn't serve because like I had school or something, or like I was like it was gonna take very long, and I'm like, I need to work or else I won't be able to pay my rent. And then they're like, okay, you can go. But I always wanted to serve, but I just couldn't. So
Yeah.
Hopefully one day, but I would be scared though. Like I would be scared of like, what if I get this wrong and I send like, and I send that would be my fear is getting it wrong and sending an innocent person. Um, but hopefully I would be like the skeptical one, be like, no, no, if I don't believe them, I'll put up a fight and maybe declare it a mistrial because of me. It's like we couldn't convince her. Like, who cares? Only if they're innocent, then I would feel. Oh, yeah, that would just that for me. That would just be the scariest thing. It's like you don't want to get it wrong.
Right. No, that's
What
true.
about you? Did you like you guys did come to a consensus or what happened?
I disagree with my entire jury. I hung my jury.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh wow. And
Because
this was in LA.
this was in Philly. This was in Philadelphia. I went for jury duty maybe like 6 months ago. 2 long days, but I wasn't chosen. They filled up the jury before I got to be questioned, and I was disappointed because now I see, like when Michael Brown's verdict came out, not Michael Brown, but the case for Michael Brown against the cop came out, and this was the Michael Brown, if you guys remember, was unarmed and killed by a cop and laid in the street for hours. I mean, it's just a horrible case, and I was just like, a jury decided that, and someone came on the radio on NPR and they said, "This is the time. Like, if you passed off jury duty before, if you ever thought it was something, to joke about, this is the time to draw your line in the sand and say, like, we can't, this isn't a joke. This isn't, you know what I mean? This isn't something to just slough off and, try and get out of it. Fake, I might be sick or whatever, And I was like, wow. I mean, I had served on a jury prior to that, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, serve on a jury, But after that, I was like, you know what? After Michael Brown's case, I was like, yeah. Anytime I get, an opportunity to serve on a jury, I'm going to be on a jury because my voice is needed. My voice is needed. Period. Yeah. So I was in Philly and I my jury, and people were saying things to me like, we want to get home. We don't want to stay here day. This is boring. I'm hungry. Like all kind of complaints. I'm like, bruh, we talking about justice right now. It's not about that you want to get home. Like, that's not what this is about right now. You know what I mean? Like, and they were like, well, the lawyer wasn't as good of a lawyer as the other lawyer. Like, but we're looking at the facts, and you guys are telling me you agree with what I say, but you kind of don't want to vote that way. Like, I was just like, I'm not a person to back down. Like, I believe this. And the judge was like, well, deliberate, the rest of the day, and then we'll see. End of the day, I was still like, no. So I had my jury, and then they retried it. They had to retry the case. And I don't know what happened. I didn't follow it after that, but yeah.
Well, one of the later episodes of the Innocence Project actually takes place in Philly. It's from like the early 90s, and they were talking about the very corrupt DA. They called her like the Queen of Death because she was all about the death penalty. Like, I forgot, Lynn Abrams or something like that, but she finally got voted out. I was like so happy. And after like the new DA, he was more progressive. He actually fired like 43 of the assistant.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he fired a bunch of them because she was just all about like just give the death penalty to as many people as possible. And I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to like go after truth and justice, not just the death penalty.
There's a lot going on. You ever had time? There's this Cash for Kids big scandal that happened with a judge that was convicting kids and then sending them to like this like basically juvenile jail, and then they would get kicked back whenever he did it. So he was getting rich off of sending kids to kid jail. Crazy cases. I mean, and did it for decades, like years and years. Like it was crazy how many kids' lives he won. So I mean, stuff like that happens, and that's why the Innocence Project is so important, because we got to do more like than just talk about it. That's why I appreciate you, Anais, because I mean, I read about this and I have been doing stories on this every week for like 2 months, and I never once thought I could. I mean, I thought of donating myself, but I never once thought I should get people together and bring awareness to it and try and raise money for it. And I think that was so awesome. I think that's awesome.
Trying to do what I can. Thank you for taking the time. Just because I always like feel like I feel like I always want to do more. Like I do, it's important to take, your, I guess, breaks, your me time, because it does get overwhelming. Like I've been crying so much, like just crying about everything. So it's important to just take the time, take a nap or something if you need to, because it does get overwhelming, but any little thing you can do, and that's, why I wanted to do this, just like anything that I can do, but it still doesn't feel like it's enough. I'm like, I need to do more. I don't know. I just feel like I want to save the world. That's just kind of, that's a lot to take on. That's just kind of how I feel. Like, I need to save the world. But I just wanted to share. Oh, sorry, what?
I said one IG live at a time. You'll save the world one IG live at a time.
So when I just kind of want to, we're probably gonna have to wrap it up soon, because yeah, it's getting late for both of us. But I wanted to share some. First of all, the Innocence Project website. I'll follow them on Instagram, and then innocenceproject.org, and then a podcast. I suggest anyone to listen to. I subscribe to all of them. 13, and then you can find these actually on the Innocence Project website too. But 13 Alibis is one. Bucket List, In the Dark, Mass Exoneration. I was listening to a few episodes of that today. It's amazing, and it's just amazing and disappointing, like just the justice system at the same time. Undisclosed and Wrongful Conviction with Jason Flom. And for you Kim Kardashian fans, he actually interviewed her about, I haven't listened to it yet, but I know he interviewed her recently about how she's been helping some other wrongfully convicted people. So if, that's what's going to get you to listen to the podcast, go ahead and listen to it. And then, several movies that are available. I don't know if they're all of these are on Netflix, but Brian Banks, Crown Heights, If Beale Street Could Talk, The Night Of, it's an HBO miniseries, When They See Us, the 13th documentary, Exhibit A, that's also a documentary, Free Meek Mill, Long Shot documentary, Southwest of Salem, Time, the Khalif Browder story, I want to see that one. I know Jay-Z helped with that one, so if you like Jay-Z, go watch that series. Who Killed Malcolm X? I just saw that one I saw it like on Netflix. I added it to my queue. The Confession Tapes, The Innocent Man, The Last Defense, True Conviction. There's a lot. So just, you have time. Netflix has a bunch of stuff, so just whatever medium you prefer, podcasts, books, documentaries, films, whatever you can, just so you can be more educated, and, knowledge is power. So, yeah. Anything else you would like to say before we wrap it up?
I was just going to say the Equal Justice Initiative also does a lot of work in the same space, just as awesome. If you guys ever Just Mercy, that's Brian Stevenson, the creator of the Equal Justice Initiative. That's the movie is based on him. And so Anthony Ray Hinton wrote a book called The Sun Also Shines, if you're more into reading. And then Brian Stevenson also wrote a book. So those two are really powerful, impactful.
Awesome. Thank you. I do follow them. Yeah, Equal Justice Initiative, both of them. I mean, that one and this one. I mean, there's so many great ones, but
Yeah, so
those are
many.
just a couple ones.
Yep.
And so just one more time, gonna give another shout out to everyone who donated. Phantasm, I didn't write the number, but I think it's Phantasm 67. Napoleon Fighter, Aaron Palmer, Mark Gordon, and Bahamas. Thank you so much for your donations. Anything helps. Anyone, everyone who just joined us and shared your talents and your voice. I appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot that you guys participated. Kay, for being here all this whole time. Thank you so much, girl. Oh, virtual hugs. East to west. Yeah, just,
Yeah.
coming together. Yeah, so thank you again. And yeah, let's just keep it up. Keep up the pressure, keep up the knowledge, keep up everything. Let's not stop until, you know, it's gonna be a long time. I feel like it's gonna be a long fight, but we gotta keep going.
That's right. Justice for everybody.
Yes. We need to make the racists scared. I want them to be scared. It's time for you to be scared now. I'm just saying. Like it's your time is up. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna say bye. Thank you, everyone who watched, and bye, Kay. I love you. I miss you. Bye. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and you can. This is gonna be on IGTV. You can watch it later and support the Innocence Project. Watch the Innocence Files on Netflix, and yeah.